A Study in Scarlett, Part 2, Chapter 2, The Flower of Utah. The man staggered to his feet and looked down upon the plain which had been so desolate when sleep had overtaken him, and which was now traversed by this enormous body of men and beasts. His face assumed an expression of incredulity as he gazed, and he passed his bony hands over his eyes. "This is what they call delirium, I guess," he muttered. The child stood beside him, holding on to the skirt of his coat, and said nothing, but looked all round her with the wondering, questioning gaze of childhood. The rescuing party were speedily able to convince the two castaways that their appearance was no delusion. One of them seized the little girl and hoisted her upon his shoulders, while two others supported her companion and assisted him towards the wagons. "My name is John Ferrier," the wanderer explained. "Me and this little one are what is left of 21 people. The rest is all dead of thirst and hunger, away down in the south." "Is she your child?" asked someone. "I guess she is now," the other cried defiantly. "She's mine, because I saved her. No man will take her from me. She is Lucy Ferrier from this day on. Who are you, though?" he continued, glancing with curiosity at his stalwart, sunburnt rescuers. "There seems to be a powerful lot of you." "Nigh upon 10,000, said one of the young men. "We are the persecuted children of God, the chosen of the angel Merona." "I never heard tell on him," said the wanderer. "He appears to have chosen a fair crowd of you." "Do not jest at that which is sacred," said the other sternly. "We are of those who believe in those sacred writings drawn in Egyptian letters on plates of beaten gold, which was handed on to the holy Joseph Smith at Palmyra. We have come from Nauvoo in the state of Illinois, where we had founded our temple. We have come to seek a refuge from the violent man and from the godless, even though it is the heart of the desert." The name Nauvoo evidently recalled recollections to John Ferrier. "I see," he said. "You are the Mormons." "We are the Mormons," answered his companion with one voice. "And where are you going?" "We do not know. The hand of God is leading us under the person of our prophet. You must come before him. He shall say what is to be done with you." They had reached the base of the hill by this time and were surrounded by crowds of the pilgrims, pale-faced, meek-looking women, strong, laughing children, and anxious, earnest-eyed men. Many were the cries of astonishment and the commiseration which arose from them when they perceived the youth of one of the strangers and the destitution of the other. Their escort did not halt, however, but pushed on, followed by a great crowd of Mormons, until they reached a wagon which was conspicuous for its great size and for the gaudiness and smartness of its appearance. 6 horses were yoked to it, whereas the others were furnished with 2 or at most 4 apiece. Beside the driver there sat a man who could not have been more than 30 years of age, but whose massive head and resolute expression marked him as a leader. He was reading a brown-backed volume, but as the crowd approached he laid it aside and listened attentively to an account of the episode. Then he turned on to the two castaways. "If we take you with us," he said in solemn words, "it can only be as believers in our own creed. We shall have no wolves in our fold. Better far that your bones should bleach in this wilderness than that you should prove to be that little speck of decay which in time corrupts the whole fruit. Will you come with us on these terms?" "Guess I'll come with you on any terms," said Ferrier, with such emphasis that the grave elders could not seem to restrain a smile. The leader alone retained his stern, impressive expression. "Take him, brother Strangerson," he said. "Give him food and drink, and the child likewise. Let it be your task also to teach him of our holy creed. We have delayed long enough. Forward, on to the Zion." "On to the Zion," cried the crowd of Mormons, and the words rippled down the long caravan, passing from mouth to mouth until they died away in a dull murmur in the far distance. With a cracking of whips and the creaking of wheels, the great wagons got into motion, and soon the whole caravan was winding along once more. The elder to whose care the two waves had been committed led them to his wagon, where a meal was already awaiting them. "You shall remain here," he said. "In a few days you will have recovered from your fatigue. In the meantime, remember that now and forever you are of our religion. Brigham Young has said it, and he has spoken with the voice of Joseph Smith, which is the voice of God. This is not the place to commemorate the trials and privations endured by the immigrant Mormons before they came to their final haven. From the shores of the Mississippi to the western slopes of the Rocky Mountains, they had struggled on with a constancy almost unparalleled in history. The savage man and the savage beast, hunger, thirst, fatigue, and disease, even impediment which nature could place in the way, had all been overcome with the Anglo-Saxon tenacity. Yet the long journey and the accumulated terrors had shaken the hearts of the stoutest amongst them. There was not one who did not sink upon his knees in heartfelt prayer when they saw the broad valley of Utah bathed in the sunlight beneath them, and learned from the lips of their leader that this was the promised land, and that these virgin acres were to be theirs forevermore. Young speedily proved himself to be a skillful administrator as well as a resolute chief. Maps were drawn and charts prepared in which the future city was sketched out. All around farms were apportioned and allotted in the proportion to the standing of each individual. The tradesman was put to his trade and the artisan to his calling. In the town streets and the squares sprang up as if by magic. In the country there was draining and hedging, planting, clearing, until the next summer saw the whole country golden with the wheat crop. Everything prospered in the strange settlement. Above all, the great temple which they had erected in the center of the city grew even taller and larger. From the first blush of dawn until the closing of the twilight, the clatter of the hammer and the rasp of the saw was never absent from the monument which the immigrants erected to him who had led them safe through many dangers. The two castaways, John Ferrier and the little girl who had shared his fortunes and had been adopted as his daughter, accompanied the Mormons to the end of their great pilgrimage. Little Lucy Ferrier was borne along pleasantly enough in the elder Strangerson's wagon, a retreat which she shared with the Mormon's 3 wives and with his son, a headstrong forward boy of 12, having rallied with the elasticity of childhood from the shock caused by his mother's death. She soon became a pet with the women and reconciled herself to this new life in her moving canvas-covered home. In the meantime, Ferrier, having recovered from his privations, distinguished himself as a useful guide and an indefatigable hunter. So rapidly did he gain the esteem of his new companions that when they reached the end of their wanderings, it was unanimously agreed that he should be provided with as large and as fertile a tract of land as any of the settlers, with the exception of Young himself and of Strangerson, Kemble, Joston, Drebber, who were the 4 principal elders. On the farm thus acquired, John Ferrier built himself a substantial log house which received so many attentions in succeeding years that it grew into a roomy villa. He was a man of practical turn of mind, keen in his dealings and skillful with his hands. His iron constitution enabled him to work morning and evening at improving and tilling his land. Hence it came about that his farm and all that belonged to him prospered exceedingly. In 3 years he was better off than his neighbors, in 6 he was well-to-do, in 9 he was rich, and in 12 there were not half a dozen men in the whole of Salt Lake City who could compare with him. From the great inland sea to the distant mountains, there was no name better known than that of John Ferrier. There was one way and only one in which he offended the susceptibles of his co-religionists. No argument or persuasion could ever induce him to set up a female establishment after the manner of his companions. He never gave reasons for this persistent refusal, but contented himself by resolutely and inflexibly adhering to his determination. There were some who accused him of lukewarmness in his adopted religion, and others who put it down to greed of wealth and reluctance to incur expenses. Others again spoke of some early love affair and of a fair haired girl who had pined away on the shores of the Atlantic. Whatever the reason, Ferrier remained strictly celibate. In every other respect, he conformed to the religion of the young settlement and gained the name of being an orthodox and straight walking man. Lucy Ferrier grew up within the log house and assisted her adopted father in all his undertakings. The keen air of the mountains and the balsamic odor of the pine trees took the place of nurse and mother to the young girl. As year succeeded to year, she grew taller and stronger, her cheek more ruddy and her step more elastic. Many a wayfarer upon the high road which ran by Ferrier's farm felt long forgotten thoughts revive in their minds as they watched her little girlish figure tripping through the wheat fields, or met her mounted upon her father's mustang and managing it with all the ease and grace of a true child of the West. So the bud blossomed into a flower, and the year which saw her father the richest of the farmers left her as a fair specimen of American girlhood as could be found in the whole Pacific slope. It was not the father, however, who first discovered that the child had developed into a woman. It seldom is in such cases. That mysterious change is too subtle and too gradual to be measured by dates. Least of all does the maiden herself know it until the tone of a voice or touch of a hand sets her heart thrilling within her, and she learns with a mixture of pride and fear that a new and larger nature has awoken within her. There are few who cannot recall that day and remember the one little incident which heralded the dawn of a new life. In the case of Lucy Ferrier, the occasion was serious enough in itself, apart from its future influence on her destiny and that of many besides. It was a warm June morning, and the later day saints were as busy as bees whose hive they have chosen for their emblem. In the fields and in the streets rose the same hum of human industry. Down the dusty roads defiled long streams of heavy laden mules, all heading to the west, for the gold fever had broken out in California, and the overland route lay through the city of the elect. There too were droves of sheep and bullocks coming in from the outlying pasture lands, and the trains of tired immigrants, men and horses, equally weary of their interminable journey. Through all this motley ensemble, threading her way with the skill of an accomplished rider, there galloped Lucy Ferrier, her fair face flushed with the exercise and her long chestnut hair floating out behind her. She had a commission from her father in the city and was dashing in as she had done many a time before, with all the fearlessness of youth, thinking only of her task and how it was to be performed. The travel-stained adventurers gazed after her in astonishment, and even the emotionless Indians, journeying in with their pelties, relaxed their accustomed stoicism as they marveled at the beauty of the pale-faced maiden.